everyone. I'm Liviu, and today's session I'm going to try to make it a little bit different. And by that I mean that I really want your involvement in this session. That's why I'm not going to call it a talk, I want to call it a session. Now I know you're tired already, I know your lunch is coming soon, but I really need your help to make this interesting. I don't want to shift the responsibility of this talk being good on you. I'll own it if it sucks, but I'm sure that if with your involvement, actually it will be great. So for that I need two things. I need first of all for you to be a little bit brave. I'll be sharing things about me, and I want you guys and girls to share things about you. Is that okay? No. Is that okay? Yes. Better. I would ask it a third time, but I know you're hungry. Okay. So, as you see here, my name is Liviu Spiroiu. I'm a Java software developer at heart. More about that later. These are my socials. I will do my best so that this session will be also a debate at the end. I really want to spark a little bit of controversy, but in a good way. I want you guys to hear what I have to say, either ignore it, or even better, tell me that I'm wrong. Okay? So let's do that. At any time during my speech, please raise your hand if you disagree with me. If you agree with me, it's okay. But if you disagree with me, raise your hand, please stand up and tell me why. These are just my thoughts, and that doesn't make them right. It just makes them my thoughts. Now, as I said, I'm a Java developer at heart, but I've been a Java team leader for a long while, also a Scrum Master, and I've been working at Cognite for around 3 years. I will just give you a little bit of info about the company, and then we will go forward and discuss what we are going to talk about today. Mainly, just a little bit of information, we help customers to identify and neutralize and also tackle threats to national security. And we do this by addressing different forms of criminal and terror activity. But that's not easy to do. Can you put yourself in the mind of an investigator and try to think why? Throw around some reasons, please. I asked you to be brave. Now is the time, come on. Hands up, one reason. I want one reason from you. Why do you think being an investigator in 2024 in the digital age might be difficult? Please. Great. They're always ahead. That's perfect. That and this answer, they need a little bit of applause. Come on, they were brave. Perfect. AI is one reason. The fact that they're always ahead is the main reason. Okay? And we've been, by the way, regarding AI, I don't know, how many of you did read the description of this talk? Or are you just here because the title was interesting? Okay, 4 or 5 of you. Well, in the description of this talk, if you went online, you would see that one of the questions I'm trying to answer today is, will AI replace us? Okay, as Java developers. I see someone saying no. Perfect, we can talk about that. Okay, these are a myriad of other reasons why investigations are challenging. But as interesting as the domain, the company I work for is, this is not what we're going to talk about today. I actually have a talk at Volks Days last year where I go into more depth. So if you are curious about us and how we do things, please search my talk last year. You can find it on YouTube. But me working for Cognite, as fun as it is just my present. But me being able to come here and have this job was actually a long road ahead before. So I'm going to tell you a story. So I want to understand a little bit my audience. I want to know how many of you are born in the 80s or before. And if you are brave enough to admit it, come on. Okay. Let's have a clap for our millennials. Come on. And I really appreciate you owning to your age. Okay, I'm 35. So for you guys, this will be a little bit nostalgic. For most of you that are born 10, 15 years later, you will be scratching your head and thinking this is basically Asian history. But trust me, it will all build up. In the end, it will make sense. So the story starts in the mid-1990s. I was in my first years of primary school. I remember going into a classroom and not knowing that my life was about to change forever. I remember the room was a little bit dark, but instantly my eyes were focused on some flickering lights that were spread around the room. There were like 10 desks, each desk having a TV, a small TV on it, and something weird, black with letters and numbers in front of it. This was it. How many of you know what this is? What is it? Yes, but do you know the name of it? Sorry? It was created by ICE Felix. It was actually called an HC91. Okay? This computer was the reason for the flickering lights. This computer actually used the BASIC programming language as its core, which it had stored in his very, very tiny EEPROM memory. And while BASIC was a fully fledged programming, we were so young that we just have fun with it, make it go beep, and draw circles on it. The thing is that even so, making it beep and drawing circles was amazing for a young person that never saw a computer before. But my eureka moment happened when I learned about something called the for loop. This basic command, pun intended, that we all take for granted, actually opened my mind and made me understand there is a full realm of possibilities, because the for command with the beep command made the computer sing. And the for command with the circle command and some clear screen and pauses made art, made animations. I was able to actually write music and do animations, me, someone who never done this before. This was the first time, but not the last time, the for command changed my life. But the problem is that at that point in time, these types of computers were very expensive. Few could afford them, I wasn't one of them, therefore the idea of me being a programmer had to go down the list. And the other problem is, this was my internet. The teacher would write commands on the chalkboard, and we would input them on the keyboard. I see someone smiling. A little bit of melancholy. But the thing is, I remain curious. I will fast forward, and I remember coming home, seeing again some flickering lines under the door, and I saw this. This is a computer, a 386 computer running Windows 3.1. But it had a keyboard, it had a mouse, it had a graphical user interface. It was light years ahead of the HC. So the first thing I started to do as a kid is actually started playing games. I forgot about being a software developer, I just enjoyed playing games. So my parents forced me and told me, okay, you can use the computer 2 hours a day after homework, and if you want more screen time, then you have to help your mother, which at that point in time was a land surveyor, input coordinates that she wrote down on paper, input them on the computer using this as an editor. This is called Norton Commander. The alternative was a DOS Navigator. And the problem is, for me, it was a great, I thought about it and I said, okay, fair price to pay. Okay, input some text in the editor, all well, then I get to play. But the problem was that this is how the file needed to look like. Exactly. And when I mean exactly, I refer to the fact that it had to have this format and 6 spaces. If you miss one, or you have a typo, when you start running the program, which read the line by line, after 3 hours it would fail. So after creating 2 or 3 of these and counting tens of thousands of spaces, I said, I give up. I would rather not do anything than do this. 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, 6 space, for each of these inputs. Then I remembered something. There is such a thing as BASIC. By then it was Quick Basic or QBasic in Microsoft. And it had a for loop. So I wrote my first useful program that just read these values from the keyboard, added the bloody spaces, and it even allowed me to go back online if I made a mistake. So by using this editor, I wrote that code, and by using this, I learned how to do it. This was my internet. Now we fast forward. The 2000s came in, and everything started to blow up. First, it was Pascal at school. Then it was FoxPro for databases. Then it was Borland C and C++. Then we had, for database access using GUI, we had Visual Basic for application and access. Then we had Visual Basic. Then we had the .NET revolution. We had C# and Visual Basic .NET, and on the other spectrum, we had Java. But something else came online. We had the internet. Now, the reason for this trip down memory lane isn't to show you how old I am. I am kind of, sort of, but the reason of it was to sow a seed. Learning things the way I did made me understand that there is no such thing as the perfect solution to be applied in all circumstances. There is no such thing as a perfect programming language. There is no such thing as the perfect software architecture. There is no such thing as one way of doing project management, and there is no one thing, or no such thing as the only way to learn things. Okay? You need to understand that there is a time, a place, and a reason for everything. And my generation learned this the hard way. Now, whenever someone starts being a developer, they will be focusing on one language, which is okay. Then they will extend that language using frameworks and get experience in the workforce. Fair enough, okay? But this should be the first step. It shouldn't be the last step. If you stop and say, okay, this is the way I'm going, and ignore everything else, from my point of view, you've already lost the race. And even more so, if you don't focus on learning as much as humanly possible and start chasing titles like, now I'm a junior, then I'm a mid, then I'm a senior, then I'm going towards an architect, and you focus on the titles and not the learning, it is my opinion that is not the right way to go. How many of you here are junior developers? How many of you are mid developers? How many of you are seniors? How many of you are human? Come on, it's not rhetoric. Raise your hand. There will be a little bit for everyone, don't worry. We've all had this badge, right? What does being a junior mean? The ones that identified as junior programmers, please raise up and tell me how do you see yourself? And why do you see yourself as a junior? Can you define this badge, this title for me? Come on, be brave. Okay, lack of experience. But do you see yourself being more or less valuable to the enterprise? Fair enough. That's good. Good answer. And that is true. And we actually, as managers and forward-looking, as company owners, we should think about this. Because in my opinion, I don't like labels at all. But I don't like the junior label even more. I'd rather think of people that are new as beginners. And the fact that you are more affordable is something that we all need to think about. How do you measure the value of one person? Do you measure it by the time they spend in the industry? Or do you measure it by the actual value they bring to your company? Both. That's a good answer. It depends. But generally, from my point of view, I think the only benchmark, when you draw the line, should be what is the added value that person brings. And sometimes we tend to forget that young people have a different view on the world. And it's my opinion that the more we go into this industry, towards the senior level, we start to lose the ability to look at things with fresh eyes. So on the other end of the spectrum, we have the senior developer. A lot of people raised their hand and said they are senior developers. Can someone define what that means for us? From your perspective.
For me, that would mean providing my experience to the younger team members, to the more inexperienced team members, and giving them guidelines and advice.
That's perfect. If you define yourself, or if you, when you say you are a senior developer, through those lens, I actually will call you a valuable developer, and we will discuss that in the next slide. Because the idea of a senior can happen, or you being defined as a senior can happen two ways, okay? First, if you stay in the same company, that can happen gradually after 3, 5, 10 years, or as it happens in our industry, and please tell me I'm wrong, you can jump each year from one company to another, get better at answering interview questions, and at some point in time, you just decide, now I'm a senior. I went on that grill set, on that grill, I had those answers, great, I got the title. What I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say that or denigrate seniors at all, but I want to change the idea of senior with being a valuable developer. A valuable developer is someone that does exactly what our colleague here said. He or she brings their experience into the workforce and shares it, okay? Grows the other people around them and adds value. Another way to do that is, in my opinion, to become a polyglot developer. Can you tell me what a polyglot means? Okay, perfect. This comes from the Greek. It was generally used when a person knew to speak multiple languages, but if you add a little bit of a tech twist, that means you put polyglot and programming, you have polyglot programming and being a polyglot developer. Now, each language has its superpowers and its kryptonite. But the reason why I'm so trying to get this into the world is the fact that if you know a stack, and not just one very, very well, you will understand when and where to use the right tool. Do you want to say something? Okay, again, as I said, I'm throwing these things here. I want you to raise your hand and say, no, I disagree, and tell me the reason why. Please do that. The more you do that, the better this talk would be. So, don't get me wrong, there is a desperate need in our industry for language specialists, for champions, for gurus. But even the road to that title, I think should be taken along this route. I think learning, especially in the beginning, a myriad of programming languages, then specializing on 3, 4, 5 of them as you go and decide if you want to focus on just one, will give you a better understanding of what it means to be a software developer, and it will give you an advantage going forward. Now, if you need even more reasons why to do this, first of all, playing with programming languages, it's fun. Can someone say I'm not right? Good. It gives you the ability to adapt. Our industry is one of the most dynamic industries that there are. What is cool or useful or even the best, in a couple of years might be scrapped. It allows you to be creative. Our minds are not made to do repetitive tasks. Our minds are not made to do the same thing over and over again. I hope most of you went to Venkat's presentation. Basically, there was a slide there that was saying exactly this. Okay? We need to focus our mental energy on new things. And only by doing this, you will get more career opportunities. I can swear to you by that because of the fact that I've been a team leader and I've been interviewing people for a while now. And the more versatile a person is, the more doors open. And last but definitely not least, when you know a programming language very, very well, you are more biased to use that language, even if it doesn't make sense to do it. And this is what we're going to talk about next. It's very important for us to understand that we are humans. Let it sink in, let it sink in. We are humans. That means that inherently we are flawed. And we need to understand why being biased, which is second nature to us, actually impacts all of our decisions. Can someone tell me what it means to be biased? In your own words. Go for it. Okay, that's a good start. Another Can you give me a little bit more details? Perfect. Here is the official definition if you want to read it, but generally is that, as you said, we favor what we know and we like learning about it and surrounding us with information and people that enforce what we know, and we tend to gravitate away from the things that we dislike. But why do we do that? Why are we biased?
Because we prefer things that we are familiar with. It's easier. Yeah. Comfort zone.
If we go even back, try to think about our heritage. Try to think about where we come from as a species. What did we used to do thousands and thousands of years ago? Who said that? Louder, please. How?
By not changing so much.
All great answers. And I can sum them up by saying the fact that if we were chased by a predator, let's say a lion, we didn't stop and think in the middle of the chase, is this the optimal way? Should I go left? Should I go right? What does it mean to go left? What does it mean to go right? How does this will affect my life? No, we ran. The reason we did that is because of the fact that we were in a fight or flight mode, okay? And we needed to have some mental shortcuts to do split-second decisions to save our life. Were those the best decision? Yes, no, maybe. Well, we're here, we're still alive, so some of them must have been good. But this was etched into our DNA. And today, when we make decisions under tight business deadlines, under a lot of pressure, under management pushing us to make a decision now, we still default to this. It may differ than running from the lion, but we'll always default to what we know best, what we are the most sure of. And even though development today is done in a more cyclical way, we have Scrum, we have Agile, we do a sprint, then we think about it, we have retrospective, we go through the process and we analyze our decisions and try to be better, it doesn't always help. It's even more important to try to understand that we have these biases from the beginning of the project, be aware of them, and try not to break the project before it starts by making some decisions that we find comfortable, that we find easier, but actually to try to understand what is the best tool for this job, not what is the best tool for me, what I know better. Otherwise, we will end up making a list of poor decisions that will cost us greatly afterwards. Now, I want us to do an exercise together. Imagine that all of us here are in a meeting. I'm the product owner or the salesperson, and I'm telling you what we need to do. I don't think this is hard for anyone to imagine. Good. So I'm going to tell you that we need to create an easy online shop. Basically, not Amazon-like, don't go there. It's just a basic online shop. We just need to have a little bit of a front end that allows us to do the basic things. We need to integrate with the payment services, have a cart, have the inventory, and just have a single server instance. And I would like you to estimate Based on your experience and the programming language you are proficient in, just throw a random number. How much time do you think it will take us? We are a team of 10 developers, mainly senior developers. Throw a random number if you don't have a... You made my point for me. Let's try again. Give me a little bit more at least. 30 days. I would have said, just like how the wind blows, I would go 3 months, but you said 2 weeks, okay? You said 2 weeks, that's great, because I will say that you are the senior developer here, we all respect you, you said 2 weeks, and this is what everyone heard. The problem with this, when someone that you respect, that has influence within the group, throws a number, is that everyone else tends to internalize that first. Okay? If you even put some reasons behind it, like, we've already done this before, we kind of sort of have the code base, we already know how to integrate with the payment system, we have all these modules, we just need to take a little bit of file and just round the corners for the UI, and we are done. 2 weeks. This is actually what's called an anchor. He dropped an anchor, and by doing so, we are moving into the anchoring bias. Can someone tell me a little bit more if they've ever suffered from this bias? Think about it in your sessions, in your estimation sessions. How many times did you actually manage to fulfill or to keep yourself within the initial estimations?
Actually, we trust those anchors very often because I work in a safe context, and that means we have to plan for like 6 sprints. And I often trust like the front-end guys
Okay.
that I'm not so familiar with, an area that I'm not so familiar with. So if anybody of those drops an anchor, I will normally go with the estimate.
Well, that's a different case, and you're completely right. Okay, if you are not the specialist, you are not the one in charge of that area, then it's normal to trust other people's opinions. But if you are within the team, if you know what you are working on, if you are from the front-end guys, for example, if you were to work within that team and just one of the team said 2 weeks, then I encourage you to basically think, sounds great, but what if this time is different? I have a saying, I will keep it PG, assumption is the mother of all mistakes. Okay, so try not to assume. Don't make assumptions without actually going a little bit more deeply into the problem. The second situation now, okay, we are here, and another one from the team just says, but wait, okay, I agree, I'm on the front-end team, okay? I'm on the front-end team, and I want to take this opportunity to actually rewrite it, because it's very old, it's buggy, it's written in a language that no one uses anymore, it has libraries that have security vulnerabilities. Let's take this opportunity to rewrite this as well. Let's refactor our code, add tests, make it better. What do you think generally the answer of the management would be? Why? That's one reason. Another one. Exactly. And things like this over and over again. But the actual reason behind it is not actually budget. It's more like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay? Because people are afraid of change. And this is the status quo bias. How many of you have heard about, how many of you have heard the phrase, this is how we do things right here? There's not people being closed-minded, because a lot of times our tendency as developers, as specialists, is to blame them. Say, okay, they are closed-minded, the management doesn't want us to do this, and that. But you need to understand, the reason why they are doing this most of the times, there are some ill-intentioned people out there, but mostly is because they are afraid. Let that sink in for a little bit. They are scared. Because if things break, it's their neck. And it's very comfortable for us to just keep doing what we're doing. If we don't change anything, nothing will change. It's that easy. If I'm getting paid today, I will be paid for at least a year or two. Fair enough? Okay, let's continue our exercise. We are further down the line right now. We have managed to release into production our application. It's not finished quite yet. We still have about three more functionalities to deploy, one of which is almost done. It's in production, and 1 month later, we are getting our first feedback from the end users and from our customers. And what we see in that feedback, in those metrics, is that this functionality that we've almost finished is not used at all, almost, compared to everything else. And we still have 2 more that we didn't touch. So we should finish this one, nevertheless, right? We've worked 3 months on it. It's almost there. We just need 2 weeks. We should finish it, right? Say no. All together. No. Or even it depends. Okay? It depends. It depends on, or if we are suffering from the sunken cost bias. Now, if it makes sense, we need to evaluate. That's, again, why I'm a big proponent of Scrum. But I will contradict myself a couple of slides forward. Okay, we need to think about it. Again, focus on value. We are getting paid for value. Our customers are paying us for added value. If this functionality, even though it takes 2 more weeks to finish it and then we are done, we can check the box, doesn't add any value, why should we risk not delivering the other 2 that might? Just because of the fact that we have invested so much time and money into this that we have to finish it? Sometimes we need to scrap it. And this is our responsibility, both as developers, as managers, to push for added value. Otherwise, again, we'll fall ill to the sunken cost bias. Now, one more step forward. You are, again, a developer working on this project, and you are checking the coverage of the tests. Everything is passing, everything is great, but you notice one thing. All the tests are checking to see if the program behaves as it should according to the specifications. Sounds good? Why? Perfect. So yes, it is necessary to also test the normal functionality of the code, but yes, you need to also try to break it. And in my experience, I've seen a lot of tests that were written specifically on the happy path or on the upside, and very little on the downside, unfortunately. And one reason for that is because we all suffer from the confirmation bias. How many of you did this? Again, you are not alone. It's okay. We all do it. The reason why we do this is because, as I said in the beginning, we feel more comfortable gravitating towards being right. We have our egos. Again, we are human. But we need to also understand that this can set us up to fail. Now, we know what the main biases that plague our industry are, and there are many more, but let's focus on this. In order to get over a problem, you need to acknowledge that you have one. This is, I think, something that everyone knows. More than that, if you can, when a decision needs to be made, delay it. Switch perspectives. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. I know everything that I'm saying here might not sound like news, like no beep, Sherlock. Yes. But I really want to put them one under another because we tend to forget, again, that we are human. We tend to take things for granted, and we tend to be focusing on ourselves. And I think the hardest thing on this slide is this one. It's very hard for us mentally to just tie off our shoes and try to wear someone else's. This is an exercise that you might need to do at least once a month, try to understand the other person's point of view when you go into an interaction, before you start blaming them. When you ask questions, please don't include answers. Doesn't it take us 2 weeks to make this application? And I'm done. Okay? Try to ask, how much time do you think it will take us? And around that, don't provide the answer within the question. Please don't. Allow and even enforce and try to propagate the idea of having constructive debates. That's why I started from the beginning, and you didn't take me up on my offer to contradict me. So you are either all agreeing with me, too bored, too hungry, or don't want to interact. So you will still have some slides until this is done. Please take me up on that, because constructive debates are key to getting over biases. Whenever available, please lean on data, not on opinions, not on feelings. We need to have the human side, of course, but please try to use at least the data as a foundation. And last but not least, be curious. Now, I promised you in the beginning that we'll be talking about AI. There wasn't anything on these slides. And I promised you that I will answer the question, will AI replace software engineers? But believe it or not, this is what we've been doing all along. Now, we need to understand that within a value chain, when it pertains to machine learning, the idea of algorithm development or model training is just one important step in the chain. But it starts with problem definition, it goes through data collection, it goes through data storage, data preparation, then we do the fun part, and in parallel, we also do the application development. Now, if we remove the data storage, and we can ignore for the moment the application development, we are still left with problem definition, data collection, data preparation, and the algorithm development. And at any point during these steps, our bias will most likely trickle down into our work. The problem can be wrongly defined from the beginning. The data collected might be incomplete or skewed in one direction or another. When you do the labeling, we might, because again, generally humans do the labeling, or at least in the initial phase, put our own biases willingly or unwillingly on it. And when we choose the right weights and when we decide this is the best model that gives the most accurate responses, these responses might be accurate for us. So the problems with AI today are a lot, but I can focus on 3. AIs are biased because humans are biased. Another question that you need to ask yourself is, can AI create original content? Fight. Come on, go, 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 go. I heard someone say yes. Who said yes? Why? Why do you think that?
Because it's a mix of different ideas, each of them being original.
You are on the left-hand side of the spectrum. I am here, but that's a great point. Let's go. Okay, we need to close this session. We'll be here for 3 more hours. Okay, that's the perfect thing. We could debate on that. So by the way, I will be here all day. Let's debate on it. Let's go outside for a coffee and talk about it. I really thank you for your answer. From my point of view, I see, for the exact same reasons, I think that it cannot, or at least not yet, because I think of an AI like a librarian, okay? I think of an AI that is like someone who has access to to all the books in the world, okay? And it can pull ideas from each and every one of them and create something never seen before. But from my point of view, and again, this is just my opinion, doesn't mean that I'm right, I cannot see the AI just sit down, gander at the stars, ask about the meaning of life, and create a new universe altogether. Correct. Correct. I totally agree with that. But I'm still waiting to see. And when this happens, I will record myself, put myself on YouTube, and say I was wrong. But I want to see an AI that will come up with something similar like Einstein's equation of relativity. Even not even general relativity. It's okay, just to start with a small thing, something that is completely mind-boggling and mind-breaking. When that happens, I promise, you are all my witnesses, I'll record myself, put myself on LinkedIn, on YouTube, said, I'm wrong. And I'm not saying that will not happen. I'm just saying it's not there yet. Okay? The same thing is with writing code. Okay? How many of you think that you can just use AI to write an application from start to finish and everything will be great? How many of you don't? Okay? Perfect. That's my point as well. Now, it can be a great tool, and we need to use it. I'm not against it. It can enhance us. I think of it as augmenting us, okay? For now, it's just on our phone or on our laptops, but if Neuralink is successful, we'll have one up here. Maybe, probably. Okay, but at this point in time, I don't agree that it can actually do our job. So, in conclusion, I'm trying to, so in conclusion, let's just go through what we talked today. Can or will AI replace software engineers? Maybe, probably, in the future. But for now, I think we are safe. And it is my opinion that if this will happen, it will happen in stages, and we will have at least...
How many years are we safe? So I can plan.
And let me get my crystal ball. I have my backpack there.
No, but your ballpark, I don't know.
From my point of view, we already, so there is, with any new revolution technology, we are on a curve, okay? And generally, it's an exponential curve. So if I would be my best bet, would be 5 to 10 years, tops. But the thing is that once AGI breaks, it's over. So as long as we have AI, as it is right now, we are safe. But once AGI breaks, then it's over. It will be a child, it will be an adult, it will be a genius, it will be more than a human, it will be a uber-human, and then beyond. But the thing is, this might happen or might never happen. Therefore, we need to understand that what I tried to tell you today is, if we do, and I will go and recap these points in a minute, if we do this today and AI will happen in stages, you here will be the last to survive it. And if it doesn't happen, then great, you will be the best damn programmer in the industry. So what I tried to say earlier, and I told you my story, and the reason I told you that is that while an LLM can know about a myriad of programming languages, it doesn't have the ability to go into a meeting room, hear the requirements, know the teams, know the estimations, sit down and say, Python goes great with that team and that specific functionality. Java goes perfect here in the backend. It cannot do that just yet. And this is the secret. We need to understand the AI's current weaknesses and make them our strengths. So the first thing, again, I want to tell you is, it's been okay for up until now to know one programming language. Now, it makes sense to know more. Not every programming language, but enough to cover all your bases. Next, be creative, please.
I would like to disagree because the thing is, the programming languages that AI is excellent at learn all the different programming languages. I would say that at this point, we need to be excellent at problem solving, which is at language clustering. So you need to know the fundamentals of how to solve a problem.
Okay, please close the slides. We are done. That was the punchline. That was the end of my speech. So please give a round of applause to my friend here. Thank you. You owe me a beer. But you're 100% right. Okay, I was building up to that. Still, we need to also learn to be creative, proactive, and not reactive. This is something that's inherently human, okay? AI responds to a prompt. It needs a trigger to do something, at least the way we build them now, okay? Humans can act of their own volition, so they can act in a creative way. They can be proactive and not wait for an input. Most of us do, I admit it. Probably I will stay and watch TV until the team pings and says, oh, I need to join a meeting. That's me being reactive. But generally, if we want to be better, okay, we need to be proactive. We also need to fail fast and adapt. And last but not least, we need to be aware of our biases. Again, please understand that once a model, an AI model, is programmed, weights are being created and said, okay, we have a freeze here, and the AI goes live. Generally speaking, first of all, it will never be aware of its own biases. And second of all, it will not be able to change those biases because the weights are already there. In order to retrain it, you need to have, again, take everything from scratch, which takes time, money, energy, and the will to do so. And sometimes people are not willing to do it. And last but not least, be curious. Now, curiosity is a core value in our company, and if you want to learn more and also be curious about us, please find us in our booth. Now, in the end, as I told you, I want to have, for the next 10 minutes, to have a public debate. I will ask one question, and then I want us to build upon it. You can direct your questions to me, or you can talk amongst you, and I will be here just as a moderator. So, by a raise of hands, who thinks that at this point in time, and even going forward, AI is a friend or a foe? I want to see friend. Foe. I don't care. Come on, because some of you said friend, some of you friend, no one raised, I don't care. Okay, I want someone who says friend to stand up and tell us why. Or ask me, but either way. I just want to understand one more thing. Out of all those biases that I just listed, how many of you actually realized that, at least at one point in time, you were biased and what I described resonated with you? Okay, then I'm very, very curious to meet the people that didn't raise their hands, and please tell me, how do you manage to do that? Because I've been trying to do it for 20 years and I suck at it. So thank you, everyone. These are my socials again. Please use them.